Welcome to the Dropship.com podcast. Today, we're bringing you more e-commerce insights, dropshipping strategies, and all the inspiration you need to grow your business. Whether you're a beginner or a pro, this podcast is your one-stop shop for success. Ready to roll? Here are your hosts, Ava and Noah.
All right, so let's say you want to really level up your e-commerce business, right? And you're thinking, okay, how do I do that? Well, how about the power of storytelling? We've got this deep dive today, all about some advice from this guy, Sabri Suby.
Oh, yeah, Sabri Suby.
Yeah, you're familiar with him.
Definitely.
Huh.
Founder of King Kong, right? Huge marketing agency based in Australia.
Okay, yeah.
And the guy's got an incredible track record. We're talking over $1.3 billion
Wow.
in sales for over 400 businesses.
Okay, so that's not just luck at that point.
No.
There's something going on there.
Definitely not.
So we're going to be kind of extracting some actionable insights from this guy.
Yeah.
And he's got this 4-step plan that we're going to be going through.
Awesome.
But the main thing I wanted to highlight here is that CB really believes storytelling is the foundation of marketing,
Okay.
right? But he doesn't just mean listing the features of your product.
Yeah.
He's talking about a narrative that really resonates with people.
Crafting a narrative. And that's actually fascinating because it ties into cognitive science a bit. Our brains are wired for stories. Think about the availability heuristic, right?
Yeah.
We tend to rely on information that we easily recall. So a good story, it'll stick in your mind.
Right.
It makes your brand memorable. It goes beyond just grabbing attention.
Yeah.
It's about planting those seeds that grow into those lasting impressions.
Okay, so let's unpack this 4-step plan a little.
Let's do it.
The first step is master storytelling to drive sales. I mean, it sounds
It's straightforward.
pretty straightforward, but what does that actually look like, in practice?
Well, it starts with understanding your customer's journey
Mm-hmm.
and the emotional landscape of their buying decisions.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine yourself as a pain detective. You need to uncover not just the surface level problems your customers are facing, but the emotional root of those pain points.
Ooh, interesting.
Yeah.
So it's not just about offering a solution, it's about tapping into the feeling
Exactly.
behind the problem.
Right. Exactly. Think about those late night infomercials.
Right.
They don't just say, "Are you tired of back pain?"
Right.
They show you images of people struggling to get out of bed, really emphasizing that feeling of helplessness, right?
Yeah.
So that's tapping into the emotional core of the problem.
Okay, so how do we apply that as an e-commerce business? What are some actionable...
Actionable takeaways.
Yeah.
Well, Suby recommends using real customer stories,
Mm-hmm.
right, and testimonials.
Okay.
When potential customers see themselves reflected in those stories, it just creates instant relatability,
Yeah.
builds trust. It's social proof in action.
Yeah, I mean, people are much more likely to believe a story from someone who's actually experienced the product
Right.
than just a bunch of marketing jargon.
Absolutely.
Right. And to drive that emotional connection home, you've got to craft those compelling emotional hooks
Yes.
that resonate with people.
Yes. Think about a powerful ad campaign that you've seen recently.
Yeah.
Chances are it wasn't just informative, it made you feel something.
I see what you mean. Those ASPCA commercials
Yes.
with Sarah McLachlan singing in the background?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, those are heartbreaking, but they're super effective.
Why, they're incredibly effective
Yeah.
because they tack into our empathy, right? And they create a sense of urgency to act.
Yeah.
They're unforgettable
Yeah.
because they make us feel something deep,
Yeah.
right? So as an e-commerce business, how do you go about creating these emotional hooks?
Yeah.
Connecting on a deeper level,
Yeah.
making your brand memorable.
So essentially you're saying the goal is to go beyond just selling a product, but to create an experience that people
Yes.
want to be a part of.
Yes,
That's interesting.
it is. And that brings us to Subi's second step.
Yeah.
Leverage TikTok for organic growth. Now, Suby was ahead of the curve with this one.
Okay.
He recognized the power of TikTok early on, especially for businesses that want to grow without a massive ad budget.
Right. And this whole idea of organic growth is basically getting your message out there and building an audience without having to pay for ads.
You got it.
Right.
And Suby saw how perfectly suited TikTok was for this. I mean, it's a platform built on storytelling,
Right.
on those bite-sized narratives that people love.
Right. I can see how TikTok would be ideal for, showing off those customer stories,
Yes.
creating those emotional hooks
Absolutely.
we were talking about.
Yeah.
But what are some tips for making the most of TikTok,
Yeah.
Suby style?
Well, Subi's all about authenticity. He emphasizes keeping your content relatable and ditching the overly polished, salesy vibe.
Okay.
Think real people, real stories,
Yeah.
real experiences. I actually tried something similar with my own social media a while back.
Oh, cool.
And it made a huge difference. It felt so much more genuine.
Yeah.
And people really responded to that.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
I mean, people can spot a fake a mile away
Totally.
these days. They crave authenticity. And speaking of trends, I'm guessing Subi also recommends like using trending music.
Oh, absolutely.
And hashtags and stuff.
Absolutely. It's all about tapping into those existing conversations,
Oh.
getting your content seen by a wider audience.
Right, right.
You got to ride the wave, so to speak.
Yeah, yeah.
But it's not just about creating content and like hoping for the best.
Right.
Subi also stresses the importance of actively engaging with your audience, responding to comments,
Oh,
collaborating with other creators, fostering a sense of community around your brand.
right. So you're not just broadcasting a message, you're actually building relationships with people.
Exactly. Creating that two-way dialogue.
Cool. So we've got mastering storytelling, leveraging TikTok. What's the next step?
Well, this is where Subi's business acumen really shines through. Step 3 is all about testing organically before scaling with ads.
Okay.
It's a brilliant approach. It helps you minimize risk and maximize your ROI.
So basically, don't throw money at ads before you know what works.
Exactly.
Right.
Think of it as like a test drive before you buy the car. You want to try things out, see what resonates with your audience before committing to a larger investment, right?
Makes sense.
So what resonates with your audience, what gets engagement,
Right.
what sparks conversations,
Yeah.
that's what you need to figure out.
And then?
And then you take those high-performing pieces of content and you turn them into targeted ads.
Okay.
You nailed it. It's all about maximizing your impact by amplifying what's already working.
Smart.
So we've covered a lot of ground.
Yeah.
How about we shift gears to Subi's final step
Okay.
in this 4-step plan?
All right, bring it on. Step 4.
Okay, so Subi's 4th and final step is, it's called Fast Execution for Long-Term Success.
Okay.
And this one might surprise you.
Oh, really? Why is that?
Well, because he doesn't have some secret formula for like overnight success or anything.
Right.
But he does have this, he believes in this philosophy
Okay.
of don't wait for perfection, just launch.
Okay.
And so many entrepreneurs, they get bogged down in like analysis paralysis, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah.
They wait for the perfect product, the perfect ad, the perfect moment,
Right. Right.
and they just never launch.
I've been there.
Yeah, we've all been there, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Overthinking things can definitely be a problem.
Totally.
Yeah.
But so Subi's advocating more for like an action-oriented approach.
Okay. So more getting it out there, getting feedback.
Exactly.
And iterating.
Exactly. It's about getting your product or service out there,
Right.
gathering feedback,
Yeah.
iterating based on like real-world data, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
And in the fast-paced world of e-commerce, of drop shipping,
Right.
like that agility, that's crucial, you know?
Yeah. Things change so quickly.
Exactly.
You've got to adapt.
Trends change quickly.
Yeah.
Customer preferences evolve.
Right.
You need to be able to adapt on the fly.
It's like, yeah, like trying to hit a moving target.
Yes.
You can't just be standing still.
Exactly. Exactly.
So how do we like, what are Subi's suggestions on navigating that whole like,
Well, he really emphasizes the importance of viewing mistakes as learning opportunities.
okay.
Don't be afraid to put something out there,
Yeah.
even if it's not perfect.
Yeah.
You'll learn so much more from real-world feedback than you ever will from endless planning and strategizing.
Right.
You know, I once launched a product that I thought was absolutely perfect.
Uh-huh.
I mean, I spent months on it.
Yeah.
Turns out my customers, they had a completely different perspective.
Oh, wow.
It was humbling,
Yeah.
but ultimately it led to a much, much better product.
That's interesting. Yeah. Sometimes I think we get so caught up in our vision of what we think it should be
Yes.
that we forget about like the people we're trying to serve and
Absolutely.
like what their needs are.
Yeah, yeah. So it's progress over perfection, right?
Yeah.
Like don't let perfect be the enemy of good.
Yeah. Yeah. So, so how does he break this down into like actionable?
Well, first of all, he says,
Yeah.
don't wait for everything to be perfect before you launch. Just get your product or your service out there.
Right.
Gather that feedback
Yeah.
from real customers.
Okay.
And then, use that feedback to refine your offering, your messaging, your marketing,
Yeah.
everything.
So it's an ongoing conversation almost
It is, yeah.
with your customers.
It's all about that constant feedback loop,
Okay.
learning and adapting as you go.
And finally, prioritizing action
Yes.
over long-term perfectionism, right?
Yes. Don't get stuck in the weeds, Just start making moves.
Yeah.
Figure things out as you go.
I like that. It's very empowering,
It is. It's about embracing the journey, the
Yeah.
ups, the downs,
Right.
the wins, the losses, It's all part of the process.
Cool. So we walked through Subi's 4-step plan here.
We did.
But before we wrap up, I wanted to ask, how do these steps kind of fit together?
That's a great question.
Like, as a system?
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of synergy between these steps.
Yeah.
For example, the stories you gather in step 1, right?
Right.
Those can fuel your TikTok content in step 2.
Oh, okay.
And the insights you gain from testing organically in step 3, those can inform the iterations you make after launching in step 4.
Okay.
It's this cyclical process.
So it's not just like a linear thing.
No, it's not linear. It's more like this interconnected web
I see.
where each step kind of informs and reinforces the others,
Yeah.
And that brings us back to the overarching theme
Okay.
of understanding your customer.
Right.
Like everything flows
Yeah.
from that central point.
Yeah.
The stories you tell, the platforms you leverage, the tests you run, the speed at which you execute it, all comes back to serving your customer.
Right.
On creating an experience that resonates with them,
Okay, cool. So now that we've kind of explored those intricacies
Yes.
of the 4-step plan and how it all ties together,
Yeah.
I think it's time to bring it back to the listener.
Yes. Let's connect these insights back to your own e-commerce journey,
So what does this all mean for you? The big takeaway here is your product is only part of the equation.
Yeah.
You need a captivating story. You need to connect with your audience emotionally,
Yeah.
and you need to get that message out there quickly.
Yeah. And remember,
Mm-hmm.
building a brand, it takes time.
Right.
Don't get discouraged
Yeah.
if you don't see results right away. Just still focused on your vision, be willing to adapt,
Right.
learn from your mistakes,
Yeah.
and most important, I think, never stop telling your story.
I love that. Never stop telling your story. I think that's so powerful because we all have something unique to offer, right?
We do.
But before we wrap this whole deep dive up,
Okay.
I want to leave you with a thought-provoking question to kind of ponder.
I like where this is going.
As you go on your e-commerce journey,
Yeah.
think about a brand or a product that you absolutely love. What's the story behind it? How does it make you feel?
Yeah, it's such a powerful question. It really gets to the heart of what makes a brand truly successful. Those
Yeah.
brands that we just connect with, right? They've figured out how to tap into those emotions,
Yeah.
our aspirations, even our values,
Yeah.
right? It's more than just a transaction at that point. It's a connection.
Yeah, it is. And thinking about those brands that really stand out, it's like their story almost becomes a part of my own story.
Oh, I love that.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Their narrative is kind of intertwined with my experience.
Yeah.
So it's not just an object anymore. It's like a symbol of something bigger. Yeah.
Exactly. It could be a feeling of belonging, a sense of adventure, a commitment to sustainability, whatever it is. That brand's story has just become intertwined with your personal narrative.
Yeah.
Right. And that's the kind of brand loyalty that goes beyond just repeat purchases.
Yeah.
It's a genuine affinity.
Man, this has been such an insightful deep dive. Yeah. I'm already starting to see my own e-commerce business in a new light.
That's awesome.
Thinking about how I can apply these principles.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think Subi's advice really challenges us to think beyond just, that transactional mindset.
Yeah.
And focus on building those genuine connections,
It does. It does. And the beautiful thing is that anyone can apply these principles.
Right.
Right. You don't need a massive marketing budget.
Yeah.
You don't need a team of experts or anything like that. It all starts with understanding your customer, crafting a story that resonates with them, and just being willing to put yourself out there.
Yeah. So to kind of wrap things up here, what are some key actions that our listeners can take away?
Okay. So first, become a pain detective.
Okay.
Really dig deep
Yeah.
into understanding the emotional needs and challenges
Right.
of your target audience.
Okay.
What are their unspoken frustrations? What are they yearning for?
Right. And then how does your product or service address those deeper needs?
Yes. And when you're crafting that marketing message, don't be afraid to embrace those emotional hooks, right? Make people feel something. Share authentic stories.
Right.
Use relatable language. And just create content that invites your audience to become a part of your brand's narrative.
Cool. And remember, don't let perfectionism hold you back. Launch, learn,
Yeah,
iterate.
the e-commerce landscape is constantly evolving.
Right.
So stay agile, stay curious,
Right.
and most importantly, never stop telling your story.
Beautifully said. Well, hey, thanks for joining us on this deep dive. And until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep pushing those boundaries in the world of e-commerce.
Absolutely. It's been a pleasure.
That's it for today on the Dropship.com podcast. We hope you got some value out of this episode. If you're looking to stay ahead in e-commerce and dropshipping, the Dropship.com newsletter is where we dive deeper into the latest trends, news, and strategies. Delivered every Monday and Thursday. Don't miss it. Subscribe with the link below.